Right, I think we'll go ahead and get started then. So, as I said, welcome to our Giraphe webinar. We are Oasys Software, which stands for Ove Arup Systems, and we are Arup's in-house software developer. We provide market-leading software solutions in structural and geotechnical engineering, as well as pedestrian simulation. Recent growth to our technical support and development teams has meant that we're now able to provide a new graphing software known as Giraphe. So presenting today, we have the Director of Geotechnical Information Management at Seequent, Carl Grice, and our very own people. We have Geotechnical Associate Ben Gibson, Geotechnical Product Manager Raul Serrano, and technical writers Anya Hancock and Elizabeth Bailey. And they will come on to present in just a moment. So we know that during the webinar, you will have lots of questions for us. And so what we'd like to do is to ask you to wait until the end of the webinar for your answers. So if you could look to the top of your screens, you'll see a button for Q&A. If you could place your questions in there, we'll take a look at those and endeavor to answer all of them at the end. If we can't get to them all, we will send out email responses to those that we don't answer. Lastly, if you don't have a button that looks like that at the top of your screen, if you could please use the chat and we will get them transferred across to you, for you. Okay, so we have an agenda for today. Our agenda is going to be Seequent, OpenGround, and the benefits of cloud-connected technology. We'll then move on to a story of how Arup's own move to OpenGround has gone. We will then introduce Oasys Giraphe. We'll then go through so that you can get to know the software yourselves. And lastly, we'll end with a summary and the Q&A session that I've just mentioned. So without any more waiting, I will pass over to Carl to start today's webinar.
Very good, excellent. Thank you, Andrew. Hopefully you can all hear me and you can see my face. So let's motor on. Right, okay. I am going to start by really exploring some of the benefits of cloud technology, specifically the benefits that cloud-connected technology is bringing to the ground investigation industry, and specifically the benefits that cloud-connected technology is bringing to engineers. And also we start to explore what benefits are cloud-connected technology bringing above, over and above traditional desktop technology. So if we just move forward, cloud technology is enabling new ways of working, fundamentally new ways of working. It's driving efficiencies across organizations, and it's fundamentally allowing engineers to make quicker, more data-informed decisions. So reducing waste is a key aspect to these efficiency gains. So whereas traditional desktop processes require a lot of manipulation of data, re-entry of data, rekeying of data into multiple applications, massaging data, fixing data errors, trying to get that data to work nicely with other applications. Cloud-connected technology is really helping to streamline the flow of data from field-based data capture all the way through the full ground investigation data lifecycle. So fundamentally, reducing waste, reducing time wasted, and enabling engineers to do more engineering. So if we look at OpenGround in particular, so OpenGround is a geotechnical data management platform, and at the heart of OpenGround is data. It all starts with the data. So being able to take that data, manage it in a centralized environment, introduce a level of standardization across that data, and improve the accessibility to that data, we can now start to really streamline some workflows. So OpenGround enables standardized data entry, through customizable data entry profiles, but then all the way through to standardized reporting output at the other end of that process. So having access to standardized, centralized data in the cloud enables these repeatable processes. And it enables increased collaboration across one organization, between teams, between offices, but also across multiple organizations through the supply chain. So when we have this data centralized, we can now enable what we refer to as frictionless connected workflows. So the ability to flow data between applications, which is a huge time saving. So that's enabled via cloud technology, particularly web APIs, which is something we're going to talk in a bit more detail in a moment. But that allows connectivity now between the lab, between the analysis packages, between modeling packages. Web technology is really transforming the way that data can flow. And then by leveraging cloud technology, moving data into the cloud, we can also future-proof data. Who knows how we're going to use data 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And what's important is that data is in an accessible format, and through open APIs, we can use that data in many different ways going forward. So as organizations transition from, say, static PDF deliverables all the way through to full immersive digital 3D digital deliverables, having data in an accessible format and enables that transition to happen. And as we see ground investigation start to move more into iterative design and generative design and iterative ground investigations where data can be used to inform what's happening on site. And then wrapping all of this is the area of then assisted engineering, assisted on-site data capture using AI or ML, or assisted site characterization using AI and ML. So lots of opportunities going forward once that data is easily accessible in the cloud. Okay, so we're going to focus more on those connected workflows. So if we look at OpenGround here, we can do data capture on site using customizable data entry profiles, get that data into the cloud. We can QA that data in the office. We can make data edits. We can do data entry in the office if we're not capturing data on site. We can import data from various different file formats, or getting all of that data into the cloud and into a centralized format. When we have that, it's now very easy to do data analysis. It's very easy to produce borehole logs, produce multiple borehole logs on different templates, to produce cross sections, to produce site plans. All of that can easily be done, click of a button, off the data that's held in the cloud. And then moving forward, now that data is in a consistent, accessible format, we can now use that data into enterprise reporting applications, design and analysis applications, modeling. The data is easily transferable into all of those connected applications. So it opens up a huge opportunity to streamline workflows across the various different stages of the ground investigation lifecycle. Okay, so I mentioned the enabling technology here is the web technology, the web API technology. So OpenGround has a very comprehensive web API, a number of services from data capture, data import, through to producing borehole logs, or managing configuration, all via the API. And that API allows connectivity from Seequent apps, from Bentley apps, but also from third-party apps, which is what we're going to talk about today with the introduction of the Oasys integration. So we provide various support to organizations that are looking to integrate with the API. We have quite a comprehensive onboarding process for organizations that are looking to leverage the API. So we have development resources, access to online accelerator sessions, and technical assistance for development teams that are looking to integrate with the OpenGround API. And we support a whole range of integrations, from field-based data capture to client portals to GIS integrations, or more bespoke integrations like we're going to see with Giraphe. Okay, so just to finish off this positioning, we've worked with the Oasys software development team, Mark and the team, for quite some time, building out a very tightly integrated capability between OpenGround and the Oasys Graph capability. So leveraging a number of these API services, so the configuration services, data querying, enabling this integration. So with that, I would like to pass over to Ben, who is going to provide more insight about Arup's move to the cloud.
Great, thank you, Carl. Can you hear me okay? Yes, thumbs up, great, thank you. I will move the slide forward and we'll crack on to the next section. And I think we're coming back to questions at the end. I saw a hand go up. So for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to give a quick introduction on our transition to OpenGround within Arup to help set the scene for Giraphe, which the Oasys team will then take you through. So I'm going to cover some of the key benefits, why we're transitioning to the cloud firstly, which aligns very well with what Carl has just taken us through. Talk through some of the key tasks, so how we went about that transition over the last 2 years or so, and the key opportunity that came out of that, which relates to the introduction of Giraphe. So why are we doing it? Why did we migrate to the cloud? From a Arup standard strategy, digital strategy perspective, migrating to the cloud aligns with our governance, our culture. We want to be more connected in our workflows across geographies, and we want to automate a lot more of what we do. So moving into the cloud is aligned with that central strategy. And we get the centralized and consistent data that Carl has talked us through, controlled access, and then it allows us to interact programmatically with that data and connect into our other ecosystem, both within the Bentley sphere and outside of it within the wider Arup system and other partners. So one of the key benefits of migrating to cloud was more findable data. We want to be able to find and access data both now, but also in the future, looking 10, 20, 30 years ahead. We're already now looking back at data that we were using 30, 40 years ago to inform projects, so that we want to be able to have a better way of managing that and accessing later in the future. Managing the transformation of key workflows. We've seen really impressive changes through adopting OpenGround in how some of our more manual workflows can then be automated and migrated to the cloud using some of our technology. We've got an Arup total design automation platform where we can wrap up scripts and put them on a platform where people can operate them without having to know the detail of the code behind it. So it really enables a transformation of our key workflows in that way. Collaboration, a key one, and more we're often working with other partners on projects in JVs for some of the bigger projects, and inviting other contractors in to work with the databases that we're using. So that enables us to manage permissions, security groups, and really open up access to others outside the organization, which is a real benefit. And we can automate. The more standardized our databases are, then that frees us up to set up a workflow, whether that's a script, to then automate that in a repeatable process. So what are we doing to get there? Our starting point in Arup was Gint. So we've had a legacy of 20 some years of development and customization. So we have been going through a process then of understanding where we are now, where we want to get to, and then sort of unraveling the product out of the box and applying that to our needs and functionality requirements. So we're seeing that the benefits are moving away from Gint, from that file-based, network storage-based system into a cloud database, and it's really been around sort of mapping across the functionality and looking ahead at the future functionality. And that was really stage one of our 4-stage plan, was to understand exactly what we do now, what we want to keep doing, but also what we want to do differently in the future moving forward. So what do we want to stop doing now that's more manual processes, and actually try and open up the possibility of using more connected data environments. So that, alongside a trial of OpenGround, then informed the following 3 steps. Second step then around configuration and setup was taking the product out of the box and applying that to our different regional instances where we required different levels of functionality. In some regions, for example, we would receive a factual report already from the contractor. In other regions, we'll be going out and actually logging boreholes. So there's different emphasis on different parts of the workflow that we need to focus on, and mapping that to our Gint structure that's been embedded into each region workflow. modifying the templates, so that's the logs, the section templates, and looking at the graphing opportunities and the field logging I've mentioned as well. So that was this kind of second step. Then we went on to third step alongside that, which is really important. It's not just about the technology. A really key part of this is about the people side of things and helping people move on that journey with us, the cultural change of using cloud-based technology and changing from a workflow that used to clicking through for the last sort of 10 years. So we've developed guidance on an internal wiki, accessing all the Seequent, Bentley GeoWiki that's there for us to use as well. YouTube videos, setting out request forms, the training module, all of that sort of to onboard people and manage the cultural change and expand that out into all the different regions. And then the fourth part, which we've been really excited about and pleased to see the results of, is the connectors. So a big part of what Carl was talking about is to have this standardized cloud-based system and can connect into different workflows. So that's been exploring and then developing some of the connections to the Seequent ecosystem, connecting with Leapfrog, with Power BI and other systems from Microsoft, but also then taking forward our own internal connections. So geo-environmental screening tools, and then looking with GIS systems, web GIS systems. So we've seen a real benefit there through the API of connecting with other integrated workflows. And it's on that side really that it links us through into the topic of graphing and Giraphe. One of the key requirements that we had was for graphing capability, really important for us with reporting, both when we're reviewing data, but also then circulating that out in the final deliverable. So that led us to see what was possible, look at the Excel extension, look at the Power BI extension, and see a real opportunity there for a more dynamic and again cloud-based graphing engine, and to talk through with our Oasys team about what might be possible. So with that context, I will hand over to that team who's going to give you an introduction to Giraphe.
Thank you so much, Ben. So next we are just going to have a deep dive on what's Giraphe, the integration for OpenGround Cloud, and how it's going to help you on saving time and creating report-ready graphs in a breeze. So first of all, going back to basics, the site characterization workflow, we start on site. We get the data from the contractors, and we have to process that data in a way, and that's where applications like OpenGround Cloud make our life very easy for geotechnical engineers, and that's where we manage that data. Giraphe kicks in then. It's just to visualize the data, because you can go through rows and rows and lots of fields and groups and everything, but it's difficult to digest. So Giraphe is here to help you with that and allow you to create geotechnical graphs quick and in a robust manner and consistently, so you can put them in a report. Afterwards, after creating those graphs, comes always a key aspect, which is the interpretation, is making sense of the data we've got from site, and then how that data is going to aid in the design of our engineering solutions. So I'm going to present in the next few GIFs and a few slides how to create those graphs. So we've got the graph library, which is one of the main workflows, and in here you are going to see selection of templates of the most commonly used graphs in geotechnical engineering. You can switch between depth and elevation. You can also change the project and get a different data from different projects you might have. You can search, refine the search, and just go from that bigger list into, for example, particle size distribution. You can also then query through the information button what's the API query. So what are the variables that we are requesting from OpenGround to build up the graph? And then you can hover over your data. You can look at the materials, you can look at the borehole records, and then go into and hovering on those on the detail and getting to know your data better. Then you can add your figure number there, which is going to be part of the exports. You can change the graph name, you can change the description, put some notes in there, just not to forget about what you've been doing, or if you have to hand over for other peers. And then another thing we do is well, a graph is not a graph without the data set. So when you create those graphs, a data set is created on the back of it. Now, moving on. That's the other workflow, is how to create custom graphs. So here we just reverse the process. We are creating a dataset first. And the way we do this is we assign a dataset also within your collection. You've got your graphs, your datasets, the export, but when you're creating a new dataset, you can give it a name. You can add a few notes again to aid you in remembering what you've been doing, or at what state, at what time that data was picked up, and with which part of the design stage. And this is the form which we've polished after feedback. This is so important, your feedback. The more you use it, the more we learn, the more we can prioritize. So here, what we've done is we've explained better how the API query works. What are the groups? You select those groups, and then how those groups activate or enable you to see what fields do exist in your OpenGround project. You start selecting the primary field, and the primary field tends to coincide with what's going to be your X or Y variable. So focusing on that as well. And then we add, for example, in this particular case, location details, so which boreholes the data we are targeting on, and also the geology code, so which geology is on those. And you can add filters. So you might not want to pull all the data you might have in OpenGround. We have a few Boolean queries there. So just to make sure, for example, that for an SPT, we know beyond 50 is refusal. So you just want to pull in the data which is below 50. Just hit on create, and ta-da, we have it. We have the data set. So here in the summary, you can find useful information about the data set itself. You can open and see, peruse through your data at your leisure. Then you can export the data set. You can refresh the live data, and you can also then edit or clone a copy. So moving on. Exports key. So a graph is a graph, and dataset is the dataset, but we need to produce a report. So that's where Giraphe kicks in as well, and those graphs can be exported. You can add your company name, your client name, report name. That's part of, again, the export footer. You can select different graphs. You can select one, a few of them, different order, all of them. What you will get at the end of the process is a zip file. You uncompress the zip file. You get all those scalable vector graphs. And then you just bring them into your report, click and drag, easy. So this is going to save you lots and lots of time. And that's really it as to exports. And then we can move on from here. Working with your data. So we are trying to go a step beyond of just having a static graph. So that's where Giraphe is also going to help you on that journey of understanding better your data. So we start the workflow the same. We get the data in OpenGround, you build your graphs, and then because of the way this is presented to you through the graphical user interface, you can identify, for example, values that might need updating in that particular case, in that central image in the workflow here that we're proposing. Those look slightly suspicious. Those particle size distributions for that particular material look a little off. Then you can do is you go back into OpenGround, you update your data, then you refresh your graphs, and then it gives you that confidence and that what you're presenting and attaining through judgment and refining the design solutions that you have to create. So an example of how you could do this is here. We get to see that Boulder Clay has a few items highlighted there that might not be assigned correctly to the correct material. So what do? We go back to OpenGround. This in real time. You can see how, for example, we can change. We selected, we add, we edit the data in OpenGround. We change it from Boulder Clay to Glacial Till. And that may be another discussion on how to name things historically. But then there you go. You select those potential outliers. You rename them. You reassign them on the codes. You finish editing the data. Always save that data. Always save your changes. Go back to Giraphe. Refresh live data. Hit that button there. Wait a bit, and off you go. The data it's been refreshed, and you've got already your values reclassified in there. And then you can carry on with your work. Cloning and editing datasets. So Once you've created your graph from a template, for example, or you create it manually, you can also create copies of those data sets. You might want to narrow down that data. But more importantly, and on the learning path for Giraphe, and also on your journey to support your journey and transition to OpenGround, is that you can learn how those API queries work. You've got your groups, you've got your fields. So basically, the edit a copy of the dataset is giving you access to the API query. So we resubmit that form. You can, in this particular case, it was an SPT graph as well, but we can just remove all the groups, restart bringing some of those fields, and then again adding the filters, and then you can just create again a copy of that dataset that it's going to be the base for your next graph. Then again, you can peruse through the data and ensure that what you're getting out of OpenGround coincides what you're expecting. And then again, it's the base of your next graph. Getting support, super important on how to reach out to us. We've tried to make that easy. You just hit that button in your in the question mark icon up there. If it depends on where you're in the interface, but when you're away from the graphing view, you get to add the subject, almost like an email. You get your subject, you get your core of the message, and you submit with your feedback, with suggestions or any issues you might be facing. And once you're in the graphing space, you're going to be able not only to send us that message, but you're also able to attach. You can see that now. You can also attach the graph and the dataset, and that's key for us to speed up the process on helping you out or debugging any issues that you might be experiencing. And that's that really. So with this, closing my section, I'm just going to pass it over to the design team. So over to you, Anya and Ellie. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining from. My name's Anya Hancock, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Elizabeth Bailey. We're both technical writers working on Giraphe, and between us, we produce documentation, support materials, and UI text. In this section of the webinar, we'll show you what support is available, including primary and supplemental support materials, where to access it, how to navigate them, and how we've expanded our support materials to complement a range of learning styles. So one of Giraphe's key features is its versatility. There's no standard set workflow. You can move between elements of the UI quite freely, and actions such as connecting to OpenGround and selecting a project can be accessed and edited at any time. So how do you capture this in a way that's still clear and straightforward for your user to follow? The answer is matching versatility with versatility, so creating multiple support materials to complement a range of learning styles. And you can see the images here show all of the support material types that are available in Giraphe. So from left to right, we have our step-by-step documentation, the video tutorials, and news articles. If you prefer to get stuck in and start using the interface straight away, head to the documentation. If demos are your thing, then our tutorials will break down Giraphe's tools and interface into helpful short videos, while users with a tight deadline will find our ready-made graph templates helpful. So whatever your style, mix and match any of these materials at different stages and as and when you need them. Giraphe also allows you to export your graphs to an SVG or scalable vector graphic, shown here on the bottom right of the screen. And over the next few minutes, Elizabeth and I will introduce you to all of these different features. So the Giraphe docs are split into two types of sections: a step-by-step guide, which breaks up each part of the interface and provides instructions on how to carry out tasks in Giraphe, and a separate section for each of the key features in Giraphe. So that's collections, datasets, graphs, and exports. You can access the documentation once logged into Giraphe via the help icon in the top right corner of the interface. The how-to documentation presents lots of different scenarios for you to find your favorite workflow in Giraphe. From selecting your project from OpenGround to creating datasets and graph template selection, the docs will help you to navigate the analysis type that you would like to perform. The image above shows the how-to section of the docs alongside the Giraphe interface in action. And there are 4 ways to navigate the documentation. You can explore topics via the left-hand menu, find specific entries through the right-hand menu, search by keyword using the search bar, or simply move chronologically through the entries. And in this example, you can see how easy it is to refer to relevant sections while working on your graphs directly, thanks to annotations, icons, and GIFs that supplement and illustrate complex concepts. Once logged into Giraphe, you'll find the Learn tab beneath the left-hand navigation menu. This is our embedded library of video tutorials. And each of these short step-by-step videos are designed to help you get the most from Giraphe, from creating your collection right through to exporting your results. They highlight different sections of the interface. They show you where to access Giraphe's tools and features, and guide you through example workflows of fundamental tasks, all in real time. This means you can pause, replay, and consult all at your leisure. The example on the screen explores our ever-expanding graph library. Here you can choose from a library of templates featuring some common graphing scenarios, all ready to use and interpret your OpenGround data. Select multiple graphs, create your own, refresh project data, or upload your own CSV file. So I'll hand over now to Elizabeth to talk through the rest.
Thanks, Anya. The News tab is one of Giraphe's newest features. Here you'll find articles on Giraphe's adventures outside of the cloud. So including details of webinars like this one, conferences where we are attending, and key milestones. If you're looking for inspiration, you'll also find details of our latest features here. And it's a place where you can stay informed and engaged with all of the exciting developments happening within the Giraphe community. So now we move on to exporting the graphs to your report. This is supported with the SVG, or Scalable Vector Graphics. Unlike many other images types, these can be scaled without losing image quality, and that's why they were chosen. And so as you can see here on this slide, I'm giving you 2 different sizes that I've scaled from the SVGs exported from Giraphe. And you can see I've given the full features here with the full legend, the full title block with the figure number and name, anonymized because I don't think our client is Mickey Mouse. And just to give you an idea of how you could drag and drop these downloads into your report so that you've got this clear, consistent, standardized graphs across your whole organization. And now I'm handing back to Raul.
Thanks, Ali. So I'll just, apologies for touching the wrong button earlier. Yeah, so just a bit of a recap. Just give you a flavor today. Giraphe is the cloud geotechnical graphing integration for OpenGround. So we are here to help you, and we are doing our own transition within Arab. Just to is part of the modernization of the industry. So and we are here to help you with that transition. And one of the beauties of cloud products is the versatility, and that we've been hinting already. But in terms of the development itself, is about having that conversation with the users, understanding the requirements, and then getting the development team and the ideas, and getting all the different teams, QA, design, and getting the product that it's needed. And as part of the journey is an iterative process, like in design. So you started in one place and then you move on, and you start sometimes simple just to get more complex over time. And one of the things that we've been had the conversation with yourselves is like, what's next? So adding trend lines, which is helping hinting also in that direction of interpretation, where the engineering judgment kicks in, it's necessary. one could say, okay, you can go with a pencil and the ruler. No, we are talking something interactive. This is your data. This is, yeah, and it's easy, or the way we're envisaging it is easier than to embed this in your report. So then to support your design, your design choices and your design judgment on how to progress the work. Then sharing, because we don't work in isolation. We have different teams, and sometimes again different teams within the same region, in different regions. We work across. Sharing is very important, also like to not to replicate data, and also in terms of data quality. So we are currently designing, we're having the conversation of how to best implement that and how to allow you to be able to share those graphs within your team, within the organization, always within the principles of sticking to the data laws in every region. Then templates. We've started with a close consultation with the engineers. You've got all your SPTs, CPTs. We've got the particle size distributions, about consolidation, triaxials. Most of those more common geotechnical engineering graphs have been already brought in. We've started using also for example, about monitoring. So just giving you also the option of having like the date time on the axis. So you can see, for example, like evolution of groundwater levels over time, or recently, this week, for example, I've been in conversations with some of the users about getting the contaminants. So for example, again, monitoring of contaminants over time. And then, but with the idea of handing this over time to allow you to have custom graphs. So we are building all the pieces. We are having all the Lego blocks to make sure that we can do that switch and allow you then to customize for your own organizations and clients, because sometimes even within the same organization, there's different types of templates for depending on the projects, and we know that. Then adding multiple graphs at once. At the moment, we create one. You can create one graph, you can clone it, you can edit it, you can do different things. It's also about, for example, if you want to get more graphs from the same collection, or if you want to create for different geologies. So that's also going in that direction. And that's all I have to say right now. I'm just going to kindly pass to Andrew, and again, thanks for your attention, and let's go to the Q&A session.
Okay, hi everyone. Right, I'm going to endeavour to read through all of your questions, and one of the panel will jump in with an answer as I go along. So we have a question. First one is, can we add annotation notes to graphs that then scale as SVG?
I can take that one. Not currently, but again, as part of them getting those trend lines, annotations, basic statistics, this is something we've got on the roadmap, and it's quite is high in the priority list. Okay, nobody wants to add. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one then. How do user-defined fields in OpenGround work? Do they appear as an option as a field to use, or a filter by? I think I can try to take that one. Carl, just correct me if I'm wrong with it. Right. No, so you would, at the moment, we are supporting the standard configuration pack from Bentley. So the Giraphe has the intelligence to recognize the data schema. So it will recognize all the fields and the groups that you've got. So if you go through the custom route of the workflow, if you create, you ask from your cloud access of your cloud to that particular project, you can create the graphs asking through the API. That's how it works. So it will recognize those fields. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, just to add to that, there are no limitations on the user-defined fields or tables, data sets that can be queried into the data sets that are then used to underpin the graphing and the plotting.
Right, okay, then next question we have is, how many calls on the web API does Giraphe have?
Okay, I can have a go at that. That's quite it very much depends on usage. Ultimately, it will depend on usage. Will be a factor in overall how many API calls are made. But what I can say is that the integration has been optimized quite heavily. So for instance, there are calls to understand the access that a particular user has. So that there'll be a call to say what projects does this user have access to. But then going forward, there are only calls made to query the data. So then subsequently graph interaction, so working in the web client for Giraphe doesn't continually consume API calls. It's only at the point where you refresh the data set, the underlying data set, you make a query back to OpenGround to pull the latest data and refresh the cache. So very optimized in the way that it uses the API.
Terrific. Okay, and then the next question then is how can we share a graph created in Giraphe with a team member?
At the moment, we don't have that functionality, but that's something we've hinted that it's coming. So ideally, we might want to give within people who have colleagues who have access to the same graph, to same project, same region. So making sure that the data stays within that jurisdiction. We are still discussing how best to do that, but it's ideal not to have multiple graphs for that report, and also like for handovers, for example, if someone in a team covering, for example, someone goes on holiday, we acknowledge that that's needed, so we are working on it. Yeah.
Okay, and can people access the tutorials prior to purchasing a license?
I think this one has been covered in the chat, but yeah, to reiterate, you can view the library of our tutorial videos on YouTube. You can browse them by topic there. They're all available from the general tour of Giraphe, which will take you through everything that Elizabeth and I covered in the webinar, right through to the sort of step-by-step processes broken down in those videos. And then as Niamh responded in the chat, once you have a license with Giraphe, you can access them once you're logged in.
Thank you, Anya. Terrific. Okay. Right. Our next question then is what are the advantages specifically of Giraphe compared to just using the existing Excel plugin?
Okay, I can have a go at taking that one. So I would say that that fundamentally the graph web interface has the benefit of being accessible via a web browser. So it doesn't require Excel on a local machine. So it's improving the accessibility. Giraphe also has been very streamlined in the user experience. So it's a much more streamlined workflow for the particular use case of interacting with data and plotting data. It doesn't have all of the overhead of Excel and all of the functions that you can potentially get lost in. So it's very streamlined user experience. And as we've also seen, it also has a very extensive library of predefined plots that's expanding rapidly. So that's a big time saver when you're looking to set up plots on projects. And ultimately, the plots are interactive via the web browser with the filtering and the styling.
Okay, so our next question then is how does one request new graph templates?
I think I can take that one. Get through support. We will be able to give you a hand a bit before getting the journey on custom graphs. So yeah, that's just come to us and we can have the conversation.
Okay, and then finally, what format are the outputs?
If I guess we can take it's a bit generic, but if it's the graphic side of things, like Anya and Ellie were mentioning, it's scalable vector graphics, so that's something you can bring in your report. If it's the data set at the moment, it's you just have the data set within Giraphe. It's cannot be exported or edited there. Yeah, if there's a bit more specific on that question, or maybe we just covered that. just let us know.
No, it's quite a generic open question, so I think we have managed to cover that. So thank you for that. So I'm conscious of time, so any further questions we will go ahead and send emailed responses to, as long as we have your email from when you registered. We will get back to you at that with the answers to those questions. And so unless anyone has further questions that you can give to us quite quickly, we'll bring today's webinar to a close. And we'll look forward to speaking to you all in the future.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.